Please be seated. As I was reflecting on some of the scriptures, especially from Genesis and from the Gospel, I noticed a kind of reflection on hospitality, especially in the reading from Genesis where Abraham welcomes the three visitors. And in reflecting on that, I realize how, as a culture that we live in now, we really have a very kind of thin and not so strong concept of hospitality. We certainly show it towards our friends and families, and we have occasional gatherings, and that's all good. But the idea that we would do what Abraham did, welcome three strangers, and he sounds almost like a cliche Jewish old man. You sit down, have some water, a little bread, you'll feel a little nosh, and then he brings out like a whole feast, right? And so a whole goat and all, whatever the heck it is that Sarah's preparing over there in the tent. And it's strange to us because our idea of hospitality is, I don't know, the hospitality industry, right? You go to a hotel, that's an industry. It's nice to get a room when you're on the move, but it's hardly a friendly welcome. It's for a price, right? It's also related to the word hospital. Right, so in medieval times, an abbey would have a place called the hospital, but that was a place for welcoming guests, for travelers, for people would stay for a time and be fed and clothed and kept warm, and it began to be narrowed into just a place where the sick were cared for, and that's how we have it now. I don't know if your experience of the hospital has had a lot of hospitality. It's a little clinical, a little antiseptic. And anyway, people are healed. That's a good thing. But the difference, of course, is in ancient times, in arid places and wild places, that kind of hospitality was demanded. It was expected. You couldn't travel through the desert unless somebody would give you water along the way. And, of course, not just water, but a meal and a place of safety surrounded by danger. And that's what Abraham does. And this will be contrasted with what happens next week as the story of Genesis continues, and we hear the beginning of the story of Sodom. And we have all kinds of feelings about that story. But what they're condemned for is their lack of hospitality. They do not welcome the stranger. They want to abuse the stranger. And that's another story for another day. And of course, there's all kinds of other stuff going on with the story of Abraham. In welcoming these three visitors, he gets a further promise that by next year he'll have a son, continuing the promise that he'll have an heir and he'll be the father of many nations. And of course, in Christian theology, we can't help but notice the three visitors. And those three visitors are seen as a kind of image of the triune God, the three persons representing God in relationship. And there's many famous icons about the three visitors sitting at table in conversation, waiting for Abraham to bring the roasted sheep or whatever the heck he was preparing out there in the wilderness. We have a slightly different story in the Gospels with Luke when Jesus and his disciples are moving on their way, and a woman named Martha welcomes them into her home. It's a very short verse, a very short story, and we get to the end and we figure that's all there is. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken from her. So, you all go do the better part. And we see it as a dichotomy between, are you a Martha or a Mary? Do you listen to Jesus or do you just do the dishes? I think that's kind of a false dichotomy. I think it misses a few things. One of the things it misses is that Jesus is treating women with respect, treating them as if they are also disciples in an equal status with men. Yes, Martha is doing a lot of cooking in the kitchen, but the fact that Mary wants to sit at his feet and listen to what he has to say, he does not turn her away, but welcomes her. And also, the fact that Martha's hospitality is what allows this whole episode to happen. Martha welcomes them into her home. And though Jesus kind of chastises her for her distraction, they did all eat lunch. So they were enabled to have a place and a space to listen to Jesus because Martha was willing to welcome them. Let's not downplay that, how important that is. one of the ways that we sort of listen to these stories is we sort of jump to the moral lesson and think that the only reason we're remembering this is because Mary did a good thing. And we forget the whole play, the whole sort of unfolding of the story. So this story is not without a context. Last week you heard the story of the Good Samaritan, yeah? And what was that all about? What was the point of that story? Wasn't it, who is my neighbor? Yeah? And who is my neighbor? Whoever, anybody, right? And especially the person that we don't want to like. We again can look at that story and hear about the Good Samaritan and say, oh, Good Samaritan. We forget that 2,000 years ago, nobody put those two words together. It was evil Samaritans, terrible Samaritans. We hate the Samaritans. Get them out of our lives, Samaritans. Jesus calls him the Good Samaritan, yeah? So it's not just that we take care of those who are in need, and we should, but that we also understand that the person who's different from us, who's a stranger to us, who we don't understand, is also worthy of respect and capable of offering wonderful gifts. And go back another week, and you had Jesus sending out the 70, 2 by 2, to all the surrounding towns and villages. What did they do? They proclaimed good news. They healed the sick, cast out demons. And he instructed them to expect hospitality. They were only able to do the good work that they did because others showed them hospitality, others who were strangers. And here we're back again with Abraham, with the mutuality of hospitality. It's not just that we are it's not that we are instructed to simply extend ourselves to help another. In the offering of hospitality, we receive as well. And the disciples are sent out not just to give the good word and to share the good news, but also to be vulnerable, to be open to what others would share with them. And here I think is the hard part for hospitality for us. We're so used to being the ones who extend, the ones who have power and wealth and resources, and we offer to others. Isn't that nice of us? Even in our gathering here this morning, all the doors are open. We tell everybody they're welcome. Are they? How do we that's another question for another day. How do we actually welcome people into our midst? But the true welcome doesn't just say, come and be with us and then become like us. The true welcome says, I welcome you into my heart. What will you bring to share with me? What will you say? What will you offer that will transform me? The idea is that we don't have all the answers here and all this stuff. And if only we could convince people that we're right and that they would come and be blessed by our, wisdom, generosity, talent. That's not what the gospel is about. The gospel is about us being transformed, being changed into disciples, being changed into people who are like Jesus. And the way that we do that is not by sort of centering amongst ourselves, circling the wagons, just talking in a small group. The way that we do that is we turn outside. We look outside ourselves and see where else is God at work and how else is God at work and what other gifts are there out in the universe that God is trying to give to us that we haven't been open to receive. Though I don't think we're supposed to link all of the readings together, and the reading from Colossians is a bit thick, it does talk about who Jesus is. Jesus isn't just a nice guy who gives us stuff if we ask nicely. He created the universe. All the good gifts that we see around us, and many good gifts we've never even imagined, all come from him. And how will we find those? By sticking to what we know, or by stepping outside into the place that we don't know and encountering how God is at work in someone else's life? Amen.